Wow, October is drawing to a close. It's almost like when did the month start? And now we're at the end of the month. How many of you have taken time to look back to say, what have I accomplished or what haven't I accomplished yet? Or maybe you'll do that after listening to and watching this video. I'll be talking a bit about that in the Quip Corner today, so I hope you stay tuned. Welcome again to the Quip Corner. It's not usual for this to happen except I plan it well, and this wasn't planned as that. But today I don't want to pass up the opportunity of sharing a quote that is the same number as today's date. Yes, you guessed right. I'll be reading and talking about Quip 28, this 28th day of October. Quip 28 says, "Convert every failure into a stepping stone and avoid letting any of your successes become a stumbling block." When I started off, I asked how many people have looked back at either what they have accomplished or what they haven't accomplished yet. It takes intention to do that. And I find that in doing that, we need to recognize our failures and our successes. You know, last week I talked about living in denial. I'll add the link at the bottom so that for those of you who haven't watched it or would like to watch it again, it's easy to retrieve. But you know, when I was talking about denial, I talked about an example where if you have failed and you don't, accept it, you can't get better. But today we're talking more about converting failures into stepping stones. You might notice that I like talking about failure. And the reason is simple. A few years ago, I got a book titled Failing Forward by John Maxwell, and that totally changed my perspective of failure. I'd like to very quickly thank Tosin. Tosin, thank you for that book. It is a timeless book. It is definitely a timeless book and one that I recommend to everyone. So talking some more about failure. Failure is something that will happen. It's not something you schedule. You can't really schedule it. Same thing with success. You can't really schedule it. But it takes intentionality to recognize a failure and learn from it. It takes intentionality to recognize a failure and convert it into a stepping stone. When we talk about that intentionality, I'm not saying that I now expect failures. I don't go around saying, oh, when can I fail next? I'm looking forward to a failure. But I now have come to that place where I don't necessarily expect failures. But if they do occur, or when they occur, better put, I accept them. I embrace them and then convert them into stepping stones. On the flip side is success. A lot of times when we succeed, we just keep going. We're like, done, check mark, move on. What's next? And it has been said, and I've read too, that we don't learn a lot from success. I agree partially, because for failures, a lot of us take the time to dissect it and analyze it and say, what or where did I fail? What should I do? What should I have done? Or what can I do differently? The challenge when you're dissecting failure is sometimes you get into analysis paralysis because you're overanalyzing the situation and you never get to move forward. For me, on the other end, is success, where you succeed. You don't necessarily know how you did succeed. Or sometimes you just are like, well, I've succeeded and that's it. And that becomes a stumbling block. It's almost like, I did this, I achieved this, and you forget that there's much more that you can achieve. Just as failures should not stop us, our success should not stall us. As failures should not stop us, don't let your success stall you. In closing, I'd like to remind us that failures and successes are gifts that keep giving. The question is, are we taking the time to receive from those? Converting your failures into stepping stones is something that needs to be done consistently, consciously. You can always be better. A failure does not define you. It sometimes just redirects you to a better way of doing things. Same thing with success. Success is not the ultimate, so don't be defined by one success. There are other things you can achieve. You can achieve the same things in different ways or different things in different ways. So don't let your success stagnate you. Don't let it stall you. You can always be better. Until next week, I look forward to your comments, your questions, and maybe even suggestions. Do take care. See you next week in November. Bye now.